Alright, in this video my objective is to get you to understand how to create a three-dimensional ornament, something similar to, at least in general, what you see here. The first thing to note is the dimensions, that this is a little bit less than 90 millimeters, so we're talking a little bit less than 4 inches. So most ornaments that you see are going to be small or small enough to be able to handle a lightweight load on a tree branch. And another thing to point out here is the circle, so that way you can put in the fishing line or string, whatever it is that you're going to use to hang that. And the diameter on this is 3 millimeters, so something to take note. Alright, let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'll zoom in relatively close, and there we go. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to use a base fill, and I'm going to change this from a circle to a polygon. And notice how the orientation is set here. I want to make sure that it is down across the bottom of the screen. And right now, something else to note is that the radius, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, is 115 millimeters. That means the diameter is going to be 230. Way too big for what we're trying to do. So I will actually take this and put it at 40. Pretty tough to do, so what I'm going to do instead, this is the first thing to note, is to actually type in your radius, and I hit enter and it drops it right in there for me. So now I've got a better frame of reference. I can zoom over top of it and zoom in, and there we go. I've got my ornament. Now it's a matter of customizing it and making it fit the specifications that are set by the lesson. This button here, this offset, will allow me to actually build in some sort of structure and strength. So what I'll do here is I'm actually going to offset this a legitimate 3 millimeters. So I clicked on it once and drug it in a little bit. Now I'm typing in 3, and I'll take it to precisely 3 instead of approximately. Okay, I've got that piece there. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines to get some intersecting points here. And just waiting until I hover over top of it and I see that green dot. It means that I'm sitting there on an endpoint or midpoint. And there we go. Hover over top. Get to that midpoint. There you go. All the way through. So now I've taken each piece and pushed that in a little bit. So notice also what I'm doing is I'm waiting until the very end to make this a three-dimensional model. Right now it's all in 2 dimensions. Makes it a lot easier for me to manage. Okay. So the next thing that I'll do is I'm actually going to create some arcs. And notice that I've got that red dot there, so it's going to be on that edge, and I want this to be an 8 millimeter arc. So I'll just click once, click twice, bring it out, type in 8. And keep going all the way around. One mistake that I have made is just kind of arbitrarily doing this, and what it does is it actually takes that arc off of the axis. So it didn't do it that time, but something to keep in mind to when you're doing this, going from endpoint to endpoint, and oh, see there. So just clicking on this here would actually show on a completely different axis. We don't want that. What we do want is to go from endpoint to endpoint, and we want this to be on the face of the ornament. There we go. 8. So I've got my main component here, and what I can do now is I can mess with it. So right now I'm just customizing this based on whether it's the instructor's specifications or just my own personalization of it. I want to make this a 10mm circle. So taking a look at what we have here, still nothing too fancy, but gets us in the right direction. There we go. So what I do want to do is I want to delete some things that I know are not going to be a part of my design. It's giving me a little bit better perspective. Oh, and there's a reason why I'm not deleting that. I'll go through that here. One other thing to point out is we need that circle. We need that circle that lets us put the string through. I'm just drawing that circle and cutting out that hole. There we go. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to switch this up from what I did before. And from here, we can start making this a three-dimensional model. So this is a pretty basic looking ornament, but if I take it and start extruding, so say 6mm, say I want this to be there, 6, 8, oh, it's not wanting to go, so I'll have to go 6 and then 2 more, 6, and then 2 more, 6. So what I'm doing here is I'm just typing in the offset values that I want. So I'm not worrying too much about the push-pull of it. I'm just trying to click once, drag away from it, and type in the values myself. Okay. We've got that there, and the next thing that I'm going to do is make this a little bit easier for me to enter a push-pull for the perimeter. And we'll take this and pull it by 4. Okay, now something to keep in mind is this here. So what you'll need to do is to go through and actually So taking a look at the base, what I've done here is I've cleaned it up a little bit by filling it in. I'm actually going to leave all of these components here just to not mess with the fill of the ornament itself. And if I hover over top of it, I've got a nice ornament that I can now share with my family and friends. So just to take a look and check, we've got an 80mm diameter, which is within the specifications of what it is that the lesson calls for, and everything from there is really just up to the creativity of the student. So finally, something to remember, Just like no snowflake is alike, no geometric snowflake is alike either. Just encourage that creativity.